What's going on, creators? Yeah, I just want to get on here and bring everybody back to now. Appreciate y'all being here and vibing with me for a bit. Yeah, today I'd like to talk a little bit, about just staying in flow and the importance of really making peace with the present moment and what's going on in the moment, because everything is really dependent on that. It's part of the old way of thinking where we get lost in thought and projecting our issues and this you made it moment into the future, or reminiscing about the good old days of the past and how it's never going to be as good as it used to be, and everything's getting worse and worse and worse, and really starting to let go of all that kind of shit and just really embrace this new life that is unfolding now. Constantly reminding yourself of what's unfolding now. What is what is. It's like the more you can make peace with that, the more you can start to enjoy that, the more that you're able to get out of your mind about things. And not to say that there isn't time for using a mind to figure out problems and stuff as they present in the moment, but you always have a choice of whether you're going to respond and react out of fear or choose love, ultimately, which the world has a definition of what love is, but really you learn that through experience by what you're not. It's like what that means by knowing the opposite, because you were the opposite. You choose to embrace this new every time it unfolds in the present moment. And so I wanted to bring that again to people's awareness and to their attention, to look at what is in their life as a reflection of a state of consciousness. It doesn't mean that's necessarily who you are, is the things going on in your life, but using your relationships, your friendships, your business, all these key areas of life as a human being that that you're experiencing. If you're watching this through a screen and you have an internet connection, we probably have some commonalities compared to somebody living in a jungle somewhere that has never seen electricity or a tablet or any of these types of things. Not to say that one is better. I actually almost reminisce about living in nature and stuff like that. And actually that's how I choose to kind of perceive my world and that I live in. It's like I don't have that that disconnect of I need to go on a camping trip to connect with nature. It's like kind of just realizing we are already in nature. I look at my town, it's like look at this carved out of nature, and it's kind of just how I think about things. I enjoy that kind of vibe. Not to say that's that's what you should do. I mean, do whatever you want, but this is kind of where I'm at. But as things unfold more and more, as maybe some random thing happens, it's like for me, I got my business going. It's really kind of forefront in my attention at the moment, because it's really branching out and doing new things. At the moment, my wife and a new hire employee are at a job, and I got my other guy. He's going to be here in a couple hours to go do a job, and I ended up pulling the trigger on the third guy, and so he's going to start in 2 weeks. And so I've been experiencing a lot of I wouldn't say anxiety about it, but there's definitely some growing pains that I've been feeling as this thing has been just going up a level, going up a level, going up a level, and it's, this is pretty intense. And at the same time, not looking at that expansion as oh, now I made it. Now it's enjoying the flow, the journey, and the destination becoming more and one thing, and seeing what kind of dramas play out. Right now, with this new guy, there's a lot of issues that kind of coming out with trusting others and not and this is it's never the other person, so it's really bringing that back to myself whenever something is presenting outside, to go, okay, well, what is this showing me about something that is holding me down? Looking at this is a really helpful way to look at the new man, and kind of moving in a direction that's new, is think of a room with a heater in it, and the old man represents the heater being off, and we'll represent that with this yellow. And when the heater's off, there's all sorts of trauma and horrific shit that can happen, and illness and death, and just you know what it is. I mean, you already know what it is. That old suffering train of basically the oppositeville, that starts to develop. But by choosing this new, by choosing to ultimately explore your relationship with God and oneness and spiritual things, it's like you turn the heater on, and there's like a time delay between when you stop reacting out of fear, which is keeping the heater off, and choosing love, which is turning the heater on. As these things start to harden into fact, as the outer starts to then reflect this change, there's like a time delay where you turn the heater on, and it's every moment that heater's on, there's an increase in temperature in the room. It's constantly getting warmer and warmer in the room. Every moment is warmer than the moment before. And it's the same thing when you move in a new direction. And so it's like, with my business, for example, it's like I'm going to have a 3-guy crew, plus my wife and my stepkids, doing jobs and stuff, so that, maybe that's 5 people, 6 people, just a lot of it feels like having kids, it's like, how am I going to pay for all these people, and just trusting that that's God's problem. God's going to provide for this. And I just did a big drywall estimate. I haven't even sent the estimate yet. It's like 100. What is it? It's 75 sheets of 4x12 drywall to finish a basement, and then there's another 11 sheets for a bathroom down in the basement. So pretty big job. It might not mean much to someone who, like, what is, until you see the scale of it, but it's a big job, and like it'd probably take me a month maybe to do by myself. And so that's on the forefront. Hopefully I get it, because then I could really be in business, with keeping all 3 of those guys busy for a while, and at the same time growing into that. By the time it all kind of happens, it feels normal and natural anyway. But looking at all these things that are presenting themselves, and realizing that, there's resistance presenting itself, not to blame others, not to like, well, if you just did this, it just, looking at it all as being reflective of a state of consciousness, and in that, something that's keeping the heater turned off. And so whenever these things unfold in the present moment that might be perceived as like the opposite, looking at that as like, that's the old man beliefs that are being presented in the present moment that are unconsciously turning the heater off. And then you wonder why things aren't working right, and things are just becoming difficult and a struggle, and this and that. Looking at that is like, that unconscious belief, that unconscious assumption about reality, just without my awareness, turn the heater off, and now it's starting to get cold, and now all of a sudden I'm starting to face resistance and fears being manifest. If your fears are starting to become manifest, that's the red flag. Hey, your heater's off. Turn it back on in the present moment by connecting with the present moment and going, okay, this is just what happened. Doesn't mean it's going to continue to happen. We're going to address it now. We're going to become consciously aware. We're going to make the unconscious conscious, as like Carl Jung would say. And I think it's Carl Jung. It sounds like that sounds right. We're going to make the unconscious conscious, so it stops running our lives. And we're going to let this go. We're going to choose to turn the heater on instead, and face this thing, with it on, with the faith that God's going to have the solution. Nothing's impossible for God to do, and so when it comes to like my business, for example, just to make it real world applicable, it's like, maybe there's some drama with like one of the new guys, like maybe like is this gonna work? Is he up to this standard, or are they able to do this? Is this going to just be more of a pain than just finding somebody else? This kind of vibe. And instead of like having that kind of hang up, looking at, okay, well, what is this telling me about myself as like as a reflection? Because we're all connected in this weird way, and if it's showing me something, maybe it's too much perfectionism. Maybe it's, well, this person is doing something that's really aggravating and irritating. I don't know if I can be around them. It's like, well, am I doing that too? And if I am, I'm going to choose to be different. I'm going to choose to let maybe that behavior go. I'm going to forgive them for doing it, because it's also forgiving myself, and we're going to level up together. And so in doing that, you turn the heater on. And, there might be a time delay before it goes from, 70 degrees to 75 degrees, or, Celsius for, everybody else in the world. I don't know. I don't even know it's too high. It's like 100 is like 200, like boiling. So what, like 30 degrees to 34 degrees? I don't want to say 33, that, with the numerology stuff. But, it's just, whatever. It's just for like demonstration purposes. It's like, okay, well, this is where we're at right now. There's this behavior, there's this symptom of the heater being off. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to address it. We're going to forgive it. We're going to have hope and stay positive and trust that the same God that's in me is the same God that's in this person, and is the same guide that's helping all of us, connect in this, in this connected oneness type of way. And so as soon as that becomes healed, it affects everything. And so, as soon as the heater comes on, that problem that presented itself over and over again in this pattern is going to be let go of, and a new creation will come, where that new state will start to emerge as the heater becomes on. So it's like if somebody is like constantly just doing the same pattern, and it might not even just be that person, it might be multiple people presenting the same type of issue. Looking at that as being reflective of a state of programming, of unconscious programming within me, or within you, if this is happening to you, that has now turned the heater off. Now you're seeing, the what you're not. You're seeing fear. You're seeing, ultimately, there's only two choices. So you're seeing a flavor of fear, which represents the heater being off, and immediately recognize it in the present moment that can be healed right now by, for one, recognizing that that's what it is, forgiving that, and as you forgive that aspect in yourself, and then think, what would be ideal then? Well, it would be ideal, if that behavior would be replaced by a more desirable behavior, and so you be the leader, and you start being what you want to see. So it's never the other person. It's like realize that it's an opportunity for you to be something new, and in that being, realize that God's helping you. You're not alone in this. Part of the old man belief system is you're just like a separate little ego, and everything's physical and mechanical, and the only thing that's real is what you see. When it's actually the exact opposite, and so it's like faith to the unseen, because as you do, as you are doing this, you start to see it more and more. So as you believe, then there's the time delay where the heater's warming up. Then you start seeing the physical manifestations of that internal change start to, signs follow, they don't proceed. So it's like once you make that inner change, then you start seeing maybe little synchronistic things. Coincidences is another way to say that. It's like you start seeing these maybe chance utterances of people, just random things hitting your radar. It's like kind of confirming that the heater's kind of warming up. And as you just hold strong in your faith that it is already that, you are already that person that you're desiring to be now. It's not the other person. So it's like, with like a business, for example, you have this like weird period where it's like, okay, this is what I'm going through. It's like, okay, I pulled the trigger on the third guy, so why? Why am I doing this? What is this supposed to do? Why am I expanding like this? And it's like, oh, yeah, because I wanted to use the money to finance the cafe. And it's like, why? Well, because, I wanted my wife's, dreams to come true. And it's like, why? Keep asking, why are you doing this? What is this supposed to do? What kind of inner state of being are you trying to achieve through this external means? And it's like, oh, well, I kind of just want to be free and for fun. I just want to have fun and be at peace and, be free to do whatever. And, and it's like, okay, well, how would that make you feel? And start to embody that feeling now, and as you do, because what starts to happen when you're expanding, and this is what I've experienced so far, in hiring all these guys and whatnot, the thought system starts to change, so it's a big deal if you're stuck in a state of just same old thoughts, same old shit. to start doing different things, which will then start stimulating new thoughts. But it's the same thing where you still aren't the thoughts. But, if your thoughts are saying, hey, you're a loser, you're worthless, you're not good enough, blah, 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 those are representing a state. It's representing a state of the heater being off. So as soon as you turn the heater on, you start getting more like, oh, you can do it. Things are going great. You're all of these like positive that start to feel good. But don't get lost in the thoughts when they're positive either. Still recognize that these thoughts are happening, but you aren't the thoughts, but they are corresponding to a state, and it's either a state with the heater being off or the heater being on. And if the heater's on, and the thoughts are making are corresponding to positive energy feelings, keep pursuing that direction, but don't let the thoughts start spinning you out with these problems. So it's like, okay, well, the thoughts are now, I'm doing something different. I've got different thoughts in my mind that are just coming, as a result of this change of state. But with that change of state, I'm ultimately, there's an end goal to that state. So live in the end of that state. Yeah, you might get these problems that present it, and if it's a problem that unfolds in the moment that you can physically deal with, that's one thing. But if you're sitting at night especially, and your mind's racing with what ifs and this and that, even if they correspond to the new state, you're still kind of falling in the same pattern of getting lost in the thoughts instead of lost in the beingness of already achieving what you're desiring to be, through whatever action that you're trying to do. So it's like I keep bringing up the business end of things because that's just what I'm immersed in at the moment. I can't speak about, oh, this is what happens when you raise puppies, and I'm not raising puppies at the moment. So it's like right now I'm building a business, and so it's like that's kind of what's in my what's going on and how I'm thinking at the moment. But like with that, looking at, okay, how would I feel, once, I got this 3-guy crew, things are flowing, and, the expansion is kind of just, let's take some breathing room for a minute, and let's get this thing just maxed out. Let's get, with these 3 guys, let's all 3 get these furnaces turned up. Let's really get this heat going, and see what happens after that. Let's work on becoming more in sync and more clicking and better and better teamwork and that kind of a vibe. Before you let's just keep hiring people and this and that. We're try to get that 3-guy crew, which is, I think, be good, for now, and see where that goes. And so keeping that kind of mentality seems to be helping me, at least. And so I wanted to share that with others, and, the importance of kind of, looking at whatever's presenting as being a symptom of either the heater being on or off, which I think is a helpful way to visualize that. And an easy way to start to bring yourself back to, oh, yeah, it's still now. No, it's still the present moment. It's like, oh, I was spinning out in my mind again, for however long, but I just remembered it's still now. So, really making peace with the present moment. And even when there's, difficulties and challenges and, shit that comes up, not to sit there and just like, oh, I keep getting resistance and this and that. It's like, your old belief systems are emerging. It's like, oh, if you want something done right, you got to do it yourself. And oh, is it a surprise then when that manifests? Oh, I knew I was right about that. And it's like, are you? Or is it just these limiting beliefs and these maybe even just beliefs that have on some level served you in the past presenting themselves? Stand firm in the faith of like, the heater being on, this new direction, that dream that God's given you, and you're doing it together. You're doing it, you're always doing this, whether you're consciously aware of it or not, but if you, start to become more aware of it, and then, oh, my belief that if you want something done right, you got to do it yourself. Oh, no, look, I got a phone call and I got to go do it myself. Oh, I got to go do it myself, because somebody screwed this. That kind of shit is, it happens both ways. So you have these unconscious beliefs that manifest unconsciously that you just react to. But then you also have conscious beliefs that you are, programmed to think a certain way from childhood and experiences that you had through that lens of being. Doesn't mean it's real. And as you challenge these different things that happen in the moment by just holding on to the end state of what you desire anyway, if you want to, things don't make you free. The governments don't make you free. Others don't make you free. God gave you freedom. Freedom is God given. And God is within you. So it's like that connection to freedom is within you now. All you got to do is tap into it. You don't need external things. Your belief that you're not free is then projecting out and enslaving you. So your belief in freedom and your God-given freedom, the promises of God being true and believing these things. As you believe, then that starts to be your reality. And if you don't believe, that becomes your reality. So whatever it is that you're believing, that is what you experience. And so, choose what you want to believe. Choose what you want to experience. Don't just, no, this is just the way things are. Who knows what the way things are? All things are possible for God to do. And so, let's see how far that goes. And that's kind of like what I like to do is it's like, well, if this is real, if this is true, then let's see it and let's do it. And through the testing, you'll see it too. And so I just wanted to bring that to you guys' attention and give you something to think about, and also something to explore and test for yourself. Ultimately, this is about you taking this information as like a stepping stone, but the connection is within you. It's like part of the problem is, what does this external source say? I got to sit here and make that my master. The master is within you. It's like that connectedness, that connection. You get that by practicing stillness and being still, and you probably many other means of doing that. Whatever is inside of you to do. Start trusting that more and listening to that more. If it's what I'm saying. If somebody out here is saying something that's like resonating with your inner being, okay, that's one thing. But it's another thing to be like, well, this guy out here, he's got all the answers. I just got to just join his little cult, and I'll just work my, we're all doing this, and so I just want to continue to kind of remind others of that and just share what's going on in my bubble, and and so with that being said, I think I'm gonna bounce. So thanks everybody for listening, and have a good rest of your now, and God bless.